Welcome to Unsubscribe. I'm your host, Avani Jane. In this podcast, I'm going to show you how to intentionally opt out of anything that's robbing you of your energy, freedom, joy, and peace of mind. It's time to let it all go, finally, so that you can clear your mental inboxes and make space to subscribe to a life that truly lights your soul. If you're ready, hop in. We are embarking on the transformation of a lifetime. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Unsubscribe. Today, we are talking about overwhelm and unsubscribing to overwhelm because I am so tired of being in that loop of overwhelm. And I know if you are a high achiever, you're someone who has big, lofty goals in life, in business and work, you are probably falling into this bucket just like me. Let me describe it to you. Let me set the stage for you. You have so much to do. You're doing it all on your own. You feel like it always falls on you. You're the one doing the most. And every single week, you're like, if I can just hold on tight enough and long enough and make it through this one week, next week will be better. And then inevitably, next week is not better. Want to pause because I want that to land because I know every one of you who is a high achiever, just like me, has had this experience. So today I want to talk to you about how we make that a thing of the past because I really believe that overwhelm is a choice. I talked about this in some of the first couple episodes. Overwhelm is something that we decide to take on ourselves and live in. It's an experience we choose to live in. And because we chose to live in it and opt into it, that means we can also choose to opt out of it. So that's what we're going to talk about today. In this episode, I'm going to be diving into the three facets that I always pay attention to when I am unsubscribing to overwhelm. And this is something I come back to time and time again, sometimes every week, sometimes multiple times a week, especially in super busy and full seasons. And I want to share this with you today because this process has helped me create space, create more peace, and find happiness. And I'm really excited to share that with you because of how effective it is for me. And I think it might help you out as well. So we're going to be tackling the process of unsubscribing to overwhelm from three different angles. The first is the task list, the never-ending to-do list that seems to grow and grow and grow and never get smaller. Second is the calendar. I feel like our calendars run our lives these days. And I really love my calendar. I think it keeps me organized. It helps you know where to be and what to do and what is happening in my world. And at the same time, I think it also ends up making me a slave to it, which I don't love. There are times I look at my calendar and I feel anxious about the day coming up, even though it's things I've said yes to, I've chosen to do. So we'll talk about that. And the third piece to this is energy. As we manage our task list and our calendar, how do we pour back into ourselves? Because overwhelm takes a lot out. So we're going to be talking about these three different areas to help you choose to unsubscribe from overwhelm again and again and again. The best thing about this is once we're able to have this be a default process that we turn to every time we're starting to feel a little bit of overwhelm, then we're able to implement it as a habit and it becomes something that we do a little bit more effortlessly each time. So before we dive into these three pieces, what is overwhelm? What's happening when this is the experience that we're living in? It is honestly the idea that we're just oversubscribed, which is interesting because this podcast is called Unsubscribe, right? So I'm oversubscribed when I have too many things on my plate. I have too many responsibilities on my plate, too many things on my calendar, and way too much on my to-do list. And it becomes really anxiety inducing when all of those things added up are just impossible to do, impossible to get done as a human being with 24 hours in my day. Because in addition to my work, in addition to my podcast, in addition to my health, I want to spend time with my husband. I want to spend time with my friends. I want to read. I want to write. I want to go for a walk and enjoy the beautiful outdoors in Austin, Texas. I want to go on trips and vacations. I want to eat a nice meal. Is that too much to ask? I want to live a full life. I don't just want to work all the time. So it feels really hard when I have this vision for my life and it is out of alignment with what my reality is, which is sheer overwhelm, just this giant pile of stuff that I need to get through and need to get done because I've said that to myself, because it's actually true. I don't know, but it's what I feel. So in my reality, it is true. Such a tough place to be. I find myself here again and again, and I know it's my own doing. I also am doing a lot. For me, I need to start understanding the signs of overwhelm. When am I actually in the space of overwhelm? And that is really critical for me to recognize because it also can lead to burnout. If I'm in the space of overwhelm way too long, that is when I hit a wall and everything feels like it's crashing down. I really don't want to get to that point. So I look out for the signs. For me, if I hear myself complaining a lot, telling people around me how much I have taken on and how much I'm doing. Part of it is the ego being like, hey, tell me I'm doing a good job. I'm desperate for some affirmations here, which isn't great because that's me looking for external validation. And there is a problem in that itself. But it is also a signal for me when I start to list off all the roles I'm playing in, all the things I'm in charge of, and all the things I'm doing all by myself. And how can one person do this? So when I hear myself saying that, I can immediately know now, after years and years of practice, that I'm putting myself in this victim mindset, that I'm taking myself out of my power. And to me, when I start to complain or talk about all the things I need to do, frequently, that is my first sign that overwhelm is hitting me. It's around the corner, it is already at my doorstep. The second sign is dread. When I feel heavy, when I feel like I just don't want to do it, I can't do it, I can't care to do this, or it just feels like so much energy is required to show up to do a small, tiny task, that is a big sign of overwhelm for me. It means that I've taken on too much. My energy is leaky, super leaky, and I just don't have the ability to show up in the way I want to for the things I really do want to do in my life. And another sign is feeling sheer exhaustion. This is interesting for me because I'm a generator. I run on energy. I fuel myself. I fuel my projects. I fuel my initiatives. I fuel the people around me. I can be a great hype woman. And if I have just spent all my energy in that generator mode, generator is a human design profile, I guess. And I've spent that energy because I'm a generator and the end of the day comes around and by 7 p.m. I'm like horizontal. I literally fall asleep at 7. Then I know that I have really burnt myself to a crisp that day and I'm either in burnout already or operating from a place of overwhelm. So I notice these things. I notice my energy level and I notice my language, my patterns. And when I'm identifying I'm in overwhelm, that's when I switch to, hey, let's do something about it and let's execute on this process to unsubscribe to being overwhelmed. First, I tackle my task list because for me, that's the easiest thing to approach. It is something I can write out, get out of my brain, and begin to triage. So I'm not just executing on the task list. I don't want to execute until the very last step of looking at my task list. So first, I am going into my notes app. Sometimes I do this on a piece of paper. It just really depends on where my head is at. Sometimes writing helps me because I can quickly get things out. And what I'm doing is every little thing that pops into my head. Order X on Amazon. Make sure you take the covers off of the lounge chairs outside. We're having people over. Make sure you make the bed. These are tiny, tiny things around the house. Make sure you send that contract off to person X. Make sure you download that thing and send that GIF off to the client for project Y. Make sure you review these details from the clients, upload the podcast episode, share the podcast episode, talk to your assistant about assigning new tasks and record a Loom video. All of these things. I'm just telling you literally what's on my mind of things I need to do right now. I write them all down. There are probably dozens, maybe 100 things I can think of even now. And I'm not in a state of overwhelm right now that I could add to this note list. It's everything I can think of that is on my mind, that is passing through my mind. And the crazy thing is when I know
that something is passing through my mind multiple times, like a merry-go-round. For example, one of the things that is passing through my mind a lot right now is I need to book a haircut appointment. And it's probably passed through my mind like 10 times and I still haven't done it. So I need to write that down. I put that on the list because every time that passes through our mind and we're on that merry-go-round of here are all the things I need to do, there it goes by. I didn't do it again. There it goes by again. I didn't do that thing again. It's us spending energy. This is where leaky energy happens. So I want you to get it out of your brain, put it on a piece of paper. If you don't have paper with you and you're wherever you are in your day, put it in your notes app. Just make it simple. We don't need to go into our project management system just yet. Then I want you to triage, okay? Does this thing actually need to be done? For example, making the bed. This is an extreme case, but sometimes I ask myself, do I actually need to make the bed? Because the answer is probably no. The only time I really think I need to make the bed is when we're having guests over because we have a window that looks from our outside into our master bedroom. And if we're outside with friends, I feel a little weird having a disheveled bed. So that's when I know I really need to make the bed, but a lot of times I don't. So I want you to look through this list. Does this actually need to be done? And if it does not, just put the X next to it and categorize this as I don't need to do this. Then the next thing as you're triaging is asking yourself, can somebody else do this? Can you delegate this to anybody else in your life, at your work, on your team? Who can do this if maybe it doesn't need to be you? So an example of this is charging our electric car. I could have this on my list, but I have now fully outsourced this to my husband, who is much better at battery management than I am. So if this was on my list, hey, we're going on a longer drive tomorrow, we need to charge the car, I just put an arrow on it and I put the name of the person who's going to help me with it. So in this case, I'd write Tushar's name because he is the person who's going to charge the car for me. And I will let him know, hey, can you plug in the car today? Great. That's essentially checked off my list. Amazing. And I think about this in other ways as well. Is there a bunch of groceries I need to do? Yeah, I do. So could somebody else do this? Can I use Shipt through Target to get my groceries done? Can I use HEB delivery service to get my groceries done? Can I use HEB as a grocery store we have here in Texas? Can I use Instacart? Instacart's a great service to use. So that is me using a service to outsource and get it done by someone else. Because then I pay maybe an extra $10 and a delivery fee of maybe a few more dollars, and I can get that done by somebody else. I don't have to go to the store. I save myself a trip. So I'm always asking myself as I go down the list, what are things that I can get someone else to do? Can I get Amazon to do it and get same day delivery? A lot of times this is the answer, and I am fully okay with that. I am prioritizing convenience in this era of my life. Or maybe there is some YouTube covers that need to be made. I can go in on my computer and make a bunch of graphic designs right now if I wanted to. But thankfully, I have a really wonderful team. I have an assistant, I have some designers on my team, and I plan to ask my assistant go back through all the YouTube videos for the podcast episodes we've created and create cover images. This is the one style that I like. Please do it. So I'm finding things on my list that I can hand off to someone else. If you have a job and you're not the owner of your own business, what you can do is find someone on your team whose wheelhouse it is to do that thing. You might have a designer on your team that you can say, hey, can you help me make these 10 covers so that you don't have to? They'd probably be happy to do it. They probably love doing it. Designers love doing that stuff. So I want you to go through your list. As you're triaging, ask yourself, can someone else do this? And if yes, put a little arrow to the right of it. Then ask yourself, is it urgent? Does it actually need to be done quickly? An example of that is moving a doctor's appointment. I had to do that on Tuesday. I had to move a doctor's appointment that was coming up the next day. And it was urgent. I needed to do it now. I needed to figure it out so that there wasn't any issue. They could schedule someone else or they weren't expecting me to come in. So I called them and I did that. I don't like making phone calls and doing that, but it was urgent and I needed to do it. So I did it quickly. And so if it is urgent, I will put a little alarm clock next to that item on the task list. And then after I do this triage of does it need to be done? Can someone else do this? And is it urgent? I'm left with a few things. I'm left with all the things I need to do and all the things that are time sensitive. And now I can put these in the appropriate master task lists, which means putting it in my ClickUp for my personal life and my household, putting it in my ClickUp, which is my project management system, for my team to help me execute on, or leaving it in the Notes app and keeping it simple. Or you can move it to your work to-do list if you have one. Whatever it is, move it to the right place so that it's in the right spot. You schedule it out, put a due date on it, and now it's not on your brain anymore. Part of the issue with overwhelm is that we have the mental load on our brain. And that's what this task list exercise is meant to help you do, is take that load off of your mind so that you can have a plan to execute and you don't have to think about it. You don't have to constantly be on that loop, that merry-go-round, and leaking energy all the time. Next thing I do is pretty drastic, is I look at my calendar. And I am someone who becomes ruthless about my calendar when I feel like overwhelm is around the corner, when I feel like burnout is around the corner. I will look at my calendar. I did this. Did I do this last week? Yeah, I think I did this last week. I'll look at my calendar and look at everything on my calendar. And if it's a work thing, if it's not a work thing, no matter what kind of event it is, I will look at it and note any event that feels like, oh, I have to do this, or oh, this is on my calendar. Just that small hint of it feeling heavy or it feeling like a weight, I'm going to note. And then I'm going to ask myself, is it something that is leading to a bigger goal? So sometimes, for example, my workouts make me feel, ugh, but I know if I do it, I'll feel better. I know that it's leading to a bigger goal of leading a healthy lifestyle. So more often than not, I'm going to leave that on the calendar. But something else, like I'm going to go, I think the other day I had like, I'm going to go get my arms waxed on my calendar. I did it eventually, but it was at a time where I was super busy and I was like, wait, I don't want this on my calendar right now. I can't think of doing that, especially when I'm preparing for something big. I think I was going out of town. So I moved that appointment to the following week and it was fine. Another thing on my calendar that I was excited about, but just didn't make sense because it didn't actually need to be done, was I was going to be filming some B-roll with a friend. And I was so excited about it. It sounds really fun to do that with a friend. But honestly, it was more important for me. It was actually for today. It was more important for me to sit down and record a few episodes, record some reels, and get that off my list. So I'm asking myself this series of questions. Anything on here that feels, ugh, anything on here that is actually low priority, or anything that doesn't actually need to be done? Can I put it off? Can I cancel it? And I am ruthless. And sometimes I have to cancel events that are social that I feel like I put on my calendar. I wanted to socialize with a friend. And now this week has come and I'm just overloaded. I don't feel like I can be present with that friend. And even though I really would love to see them, I'm going to have to say, no, sorry, I can't do this right now. All of my friends understand. I'm so grateful for the best friends in the world. And they just truly understand when I need to take a beat. So when you feel overwhelmed coming and when you know that you need to opt out of it and unsubscribe to it, it is time to be ruthless with your calendar. Say no. You have to step into that energy. If you don't have that energy, borrow mine. I want you to be unapologetic of the events on your calendar. And when you're at this place where you feel good about every single thing on there, man, you've really figured out life. It's a practice. Be patient with yourself. It's a practice. Now, the third piece I want to share about unsubscribing to overwhelm that kind of brings it all together is energy. And I have this very specific practice that I have cultivated over, I would say, the last year or so that has helped me so much with my energy. And I call it my things to fill my cup list. Because when I'm in overwhelm and I've cleared my task list, at least organized it, and organized my calendar, I was ruthless with my calendar and made a little bit of space for myself. Now I need to find something to make myself feel good again about everything and make myself come back to center. So I have this note in my calendar. This came into my world from my friend Celia, who gave me this idea of what if you just make a list when you feel like you're in low energy of things you can pick up and move your state of energy from and into a higher vibration. So I made a list and I started to categorize it by time based on what time I had available to me. Now, whenever I'm in overwhelm, I've done the task list exercise. I've been ruthless with my calendar, I can now fill my cup and reset my energy. And I have this literally a note on my phone. If you're on YouTube, you can see me showing this right now to you, of things that I can do to fill my cup that take either 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, or 60 minutes. So they're categorized. So based on what I have available to me in that day, I can pick up any one of these and just find a moment of peace for myself to reset and recenter. This really seals in the practice of unsubscribing to overwhelm for me. So I'll read this whole list off to you. In the 5-minute category, I have meditation using Headspace or Peloton or Aura. I have a 5-minute journal. I have my 5-minute journal that you can get on Amazon. It's a great mini journal practice. I can burn Palo Santo or sage. I can light a candle, turn on my diffuser. These feel a little bit better, sealing in this practice of unsubscribing to overwhelm. If I have more time, 15 minutes, I can do a cold plunge, which is always a great way for me to change my state of energy. I can have a matcha break at home. I can listen to Amanda Frances. I love her vibration. Her book, Rich AF, is so good. I can do a longer meditation. If I have 30 minutes, I can go for a walk. I can do a fire and ice session with the cold plunge and sauna. I can spend time outside in our garden or chill in the hot tub. And if I have 60 minutes, oh my gosh, so luxurious, I can have a matcha break at a coffee shop, go to a Pilates class, play Disney Dreamlight Valley on my Switch, which I haven't done in such a long time, or do something creative like make a mandala painting or sketch or think up some cute outfit ideas. That's always really fun for me. So it's been something that makes me feel creative, and it's become this really great hobby. But this is in my notes app again, because it's so accessible to me to go to this, find things that fill my cup, and pick something on here. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to recreate, oh, what am I going to do to make myself feel better right now every single time. I can simply pull this up and take one of the items off the list and do it. And like I said, it's really important to do this as the last step of unsubscribing to overwhelm, because it just helps you come back to center. It helps you remember you're prioritizing yourself, and it just seals this whole thing in. And it reminds you to do it because it feels good. It feels really good to say no, to opt out, to ask for help, to unsubscribe, and have a higher vibrational energy moving into the rest of your day or the rest of your week. I'm so excited I got to share this with you, because unsubscribing to overwhelm is something I am actively practicing all the time. And as I discover more and more things, I'm going to be, of course, sharing with all of you on the podcast. But that is my process to unsubscribing to overwhelm. I make my task list and triage it. I'm ruthless with my calendar, and then I find things to fill my cup so I can reset my energy. I hope this episode was useful for you, and I'm so grateful that I got to spend time with you today. Thank you for listening in, and until next time, have a really, really wonderful day.